What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Breakdown Sportscast. I'm your good friend and host, Kory Willis. I hope everyone out there is doing well on a Friday, getting ready for a great weekend out there. You know, we're getting closer to June. So summertime is here, last day of, well, we got a few more days of the month of May before we head into June. But, you know, overall, guys, I hope you all are, you know, getting everything done with the work week and about to, you know, dive into your weekend out there. So I hope you guys are doing well. As always, guys, we appreciate you all listening to the show. You know where to find us. We're on many different streaming platforms out there, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, and many other streaming platforms out there. So if you like what you hear with the show, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me and Chris know what we're doing correctly and how we can improve this show for the future for you all. So as always, guys, we very much appreciate you all's support with the show. As always, guys, you know who I'm with my good friend and co-host. You know who he is. He is Chris Bolton. Chris, what is going on, my brother?
What's going on, Kory? I'm, doing all right. Just, trying to beat the heat. Yeah, you know how it is out here. You're in Texas yourself, down south, boy. It's already getting in it with these temps.
And look, man, look, man. If people talk about, cooking eggs on the pavement, man, you can cook a steak out on this pavement, man. You can you can flambe out here in Texas right now. It's crazy. And eggs. Yeah, man, you can have steak and eggs, man. You had a whole 9 4-course meal with the heat out here. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's only going to get crazier. But everything is good though. Just trying to keep up with all the news that we have coming in. We're about to get into these topics, but so it's a interesting time to be a college football fan as we are, Kory.
Yeah, it is, man. I look it. We're getting closer, like I said, to the month of June. So a lot of things are happening with college football. And, one of the big things, Chris, that, we wanted to definitely delve into before we talk about our final playoff prediction conference, that being the SEC. Wanted to talk about the news surrounding the changes in the college football playoff. As we know, there's always changes going on in college football, Chris, most notably the college football playoff. We just had our inaugural 12-team playoff happen this past season. Now, the seeding now is going into a straight seeding now, Chris, with the 12 teams. So no more of the, hey, if you would, number 12, you're ranked here in the bracket. Like none of all of that convoluted mumbo jumbo, jambalaya, whatever you want to call it. We're done with that now, Chris. We're doing more of a straight seeding format, which I like. I think it's easier for the college football fan to see that through, to see where their team is going to be playing at during the playoffs. And, I think that's a great start. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting to see them finally make that into a reality now. And overall, Chris, what are your thoughts about this change?
Yeah, it's mixed feelings. I've always been on the side of I didn't care for expansion. I like my college football where all the regular season games each week is extremely important, of the utmost importance in determining your postseason fate. So, I think we're going to lose a little bit of that, but hopefully, we're going to continue to make the most of what college football is and how it continues to grow and be constructed. Hopefully, we can have things set up to where, the best teams do make the playoff. And there may be some discrepancies in some records. You may have a 9-3 SEC or Big Ten team that'll get the nod over a 10-2 Big 12 team, or a 9-3 team that's outside of the major four conferences. Hopefully we get the best teams, and maybe everybody won't be so hell bent on records and everything. So we'll see how everything continues to play out, and what is how this thing will be determined, how we'll mold the qualifiers, how many teams each conference will get, and so on and so forth. But it's cool, and giving some other teams opportunities that you wouldn't have seen make the playoff before. I think they'll be able to do so. We'll see that happen within a couple of these leagues. But I have mixed feelings about it, Kory. I love my the how things have been in the past. We've had our conversations on the pod reminiscing about the BCS days, and how low key good we had it then. So there's mixed feelings here, man.
Yeah, it's it's definitely, for me, I look at it as, hey, any way to make this easier for grandma and papa at home, and just the average college football fan out there that wants to see where people are seated at, where these teams are at. I think it does make it easier, but it does still bring the question on, is this a good thing for college football? And I think it's one of those things where, hey, we've dealt with the playoffs long enough. Well, we've seen the bias nature that the playoff brings. It is what it is. It's always that big topic surrounding college football, Chris, in the months of October to December. And it definitely brings that drama into the game that, man, it just makes you miss the old days of the way it is. But I think overall, for me personally, this change is really just to help keep college football, in the eyes of a lot of people, going forward and stuff. There's a lot of money being put into the game. Heck, we got the whole video game coming out and stuff. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. These changes are, to a lot of the, big wigs that have that power. A lot of this change is, to them, necessary in order to stay ahead, in order to make sure that, hey, we're keeping ratings as high as possible. We want to make games that can be captivating. I think you can get all of that, but it definitely is something to still have in the back of your head with, hey, how is this could potentially hurt the game.
Yeah, that's what, like you said, Kory, it boils down to the money.
Mm-hmm.
What it's all about. Yeah. Do you want to make more money? And do you take into do you also weigh out how it impacts the game in college football? And I think that's being put to the side.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough, man. As someone, I remember where I was watching Ohio State and Texas the first time it came around with Vince Young and them boys going up to play at Ohio Stadium, and you see Troy Smith and those guys. So the kind of impact that game had on the season, we're getting some great non-conference games, but it won't have that same feeling. That was a playoff game, essentially. They were starting the season off with a playoff game, Kory.
Yeah.
What? Essentially.
Yeah, it was.
We're not gonna.
It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, it's definitely interesting on how all of this has changed college football and how this will help bolster up the playoff just in general. Like I said, I think that this is on a surface level, and when you think about it, I think that this helps the game become a little bit easier in seeing where each team is going to be at by the end of the season as we get to the playoffs to find out a national champion. That's all I see in it. but outside of that, it does come down to hey, we want to make more money. We want to put this product out here as much as possible, because look at the NFL. Look at what they did. They added more games into the season, and can't no one tell me outside of making it more exciting, which it has. It was to bring more advertising dollars in, to bring more revenue in, and hey, I know it worked because we just had one hell of a season in the NFL. So I think a lot of the people making these decisions, they're looking at tossing some of these things aside, rivalries, all of this great stuff that we had in the past, to make these little changes happen. Also, since we're talking about this, Chris, the rumblings going on about a 16 team. We're going from 12 to 16 teams. Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's a lot. We like you said, we see it in all of the leagues. It seems like money is driving the thought process. You can't tell me with all the games that's in the NBA and the in-season tournament that this stuff doesn't affect the players with all the injuries that we've seen this postseason, Kory. All the stars getting hurt. So money will continue to be the head, the centerpiece of all the decisions made until we get Nick Saban to be our inaugural college football czar. Until somebody is in place to regulate all of this, Kory, money will continue to run the show. But we need the NCAA, as it's currently still in charge of things, to start put the game first. It's not all about money, but I don't expect that to happen. But we'll see if somebody can be put in a leadership position as we continue to evolve with college football, and maybe they can put a crackdown on things, or see what they can do. But I think this is just how it's going to be as things are currently constructed. We'll continue to grow They even talking about expanding the college basketball tournament now, Kory. Now that's too far.
Look, that's too far. When I heard that, I was like, okay, now look, I wanted to bust through that door like Nino Brown on New Jack City, Chris. I said, look, somebody got to know something. Somebody got to know something in here. We are not about to add more teams to no March Madness. We are not doing this. We got enough.
Got enough, man. It's already the best thing currently constructed in college athletics. Essentially, you don't get no better than March Madness. We ain't got to touch it. It's fine.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You win your 4+ games. You win a natty. That's it. That's all you need.
That's all we need. Don't mess up a good thing.
Right. So yeah, man. I think overall, we'll continue to monitor this, Chris. Of course, we'll continue to, look and analyze how the game is changing with the college football playoff and with, NIL and everything. But in terms of the playoffs, these little changes in order to make the game more accessible, but also more, in the limelight in terms of, gaining more revenue. It's definitely interesting. A lot of people didn't never think that college football would become this big of a juggernaut. It always was, but man, it literally has overtaken some of the best professional leagues out there. In terms of excitement and just what it brings in year and year out. So we'll definitely be following along with it, as the days, weeks, months, and years come.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, partner, I think we kind of nailed everything on that topic. Now, do you want to go ahead and kick off our final playoff predictions in the SEC conference? That's where we're at.
Yeah. We're in the SEC predicting the contenders to make a run in the playoff. Of course, the SEC, huge conference, Kory, with all the teams in it, and I'm gonna be honest, there are plenty of contenders. You look at the win-loss record, for the over-unders this preseason. You see a lot of teams 7.5, and then you got your 8.5s, and you got your 9.5s as well. So yeah, there's a lot of teams that are expected to make a run and be in the playoff, and I think we might as well start it off at the top with. I'm going to say, I think this is a universal favorite to win the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll go ahead and start off with Texas.
Oh, nice. Hey, let's go ahead and do it, man, because. Hey, look, UT, a lot is riding on this season, Chris. You got Arch Manning, taking the reins at the quarterback position. I think Sark is look, he had to shut down the spring game, the yearly spring game at UT just for this moment. He is very serious about producing a national championship with this team this season. I think he has an opportunity. It's not going to be easy, of course. You kick off the season at Ohio State.
Yeah.
It don't get no better than that, Chris, to test your might, to test your skills. That's gonna be something else. Like, hey, if they can beat Ohio State to kick off the season, I'm gonna say it right now. They got they got an opportunity to hoist that CFP National Championship trophy at the end of the year. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it right now. But hey, it is Ohio State. Jeremiah Smith's gonna be back, and you know they're gonna have a couple of other players out there as well. So, because Ohio State did recruit well. So yeah, I am looking for big things for Texas this year, but Sark's just gonna have to put the people in the right position in order to win a lot of these football games out here. So I'm gonna leave the floor to you, Chris. What are your thoughts as well about the Texas Longhorns?
I think this is a really good team. They do have, a favorable schedule. It could be a lot worse in the SEC. It could be a lot worse than the schedule that they have. Yes, you do play at Ohio State to start the season off. Tough game. I think that Florida game that you have to start off in October 4th at Florida, that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Fortunately, you do have a bye week before that game. But that's a tough test, man. I think Florida, we'll get to Florida as we continue our discussions. That's a team very talented. DJ Lagway looking to make that next step, so I think that'll be a ruckus environment. Then, of course, you play at Oklahoma and the Red River rivalry, or as we call it, the Red River shootout. And then, you play at Kentucky and Mississippi State, and then you get Vanderbilt. That's where the schedule eases up on you. It could be a lot worse, And granted, those games are on the road, but it could be a lot worse. And then you play at Georgia. It's going to be tough. Georgia hasn't lost a home game since 2019, I believe, Kory. It's been some time since Georgia lost at home.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. So something's got to give in that one. And, of course, you play A&M at home this year to end the season. And A&M will be a tough test, and it's always a tough game when you're playing your in-state rival. So a few games in there that could be trouble. But overall, when you have recruited the way Texas has, and, they've hit the portal pretty solidly, trying to replace some of the defensive linemen that they lost this past year. We'll see how the defensive line looks, because they were savages last season. It's going to be hard to replace those guys. But you bring back Wingo at receiver. This is a really, really good team. Arch already got some experience last year with Quinn being injured, so we know he can play well, and now he's getting reps as the guy. The sky's the limit. I trust that Manning bloodline. So this is a really good team. So I think they're in great shape to be right back in the playoff.
Yeah, I think everything is in front of them. If they, like I said, if they come out swinging that first game against Ohio State, Julian Sayin, his name, went away from me for a second. All signs seem to be that he's going to be the guy for Ohio State. So I think that's going to be a great matchup between those two. I'm very high on Julian Sayin. I think a lot of Ohio State fans should be excited to see him perform, and I think he is going to have a chip on him on his shoulder in this game. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But if Texas can get through that game, literally from, like you said, October 4th, starting with that Florida game at Florida, all the way to pretty much November the 15th at Georgia, that's going to be the pocket of time within that schedule that Texas is really going to have to rev it up and play lights out week in and week out afterwards. They're going to have to be all hands on deck and pedal to the metal in terms of competing and showing the league why they can potentially be the number one team in the SEC. If they can get through Florida, you got the Red River rivalry. At Kentucky, at Mississippi State, back to back. They're kind of tricky games. I look at Kentucky. Say that again.
Look at Kentucky. Okay, I was looking at Mississippi State as the game that could catch them.
I'm actually I'm actually gonna agree with you on that one. I think the at Kentucky game, you're gonna see potentially a little bit of the cracks being shown, but not enough to get a lot of the national media to be like, what's going on with Texas. I think the Mississippi State game, Texas fans need to kind of worry about, because until you play at Davis Wade Stadium, and they're doing a lot of renovations with the stadium, LED lights galore, and athletic director Selma is doing some things differently over there. I think that atmosphere is going to be very interesting in terms of how the way Texas handles that environment. And knowing Jeff Lebby, he played him last year. The team was one of the worst teams in Mississippi State history. I don't think these guys are going to be going out just laying down against little old Texas, if they come in that game undefeated. I think that's going to be a slobber knocker of a game. Not trying to quote JR, which we love JR on this show. I think that could potentially be the de facto trap game. If it isn't Vanderbilt, because who knows? Pavia was crazy last season. So
he's back.
Yeah, and he's back. So, you kind of got to think about him as well. Granted, you'll be back home for that game, so you won't have to worry too much. But, yeah, I'm looking at the Mississippi State game to probably be the biggest trap game for Texas in that little stretch.
Yeah. So there's some potential, definitely games that you would just go ahead and preseason right now. Like, oh yeah, they're gonna win that. But you do got to play the game. Yeah. So we'll see how those games go. I think, but Texas is set up to fare well and be right back in the playoff. The other team, the second team that I want to mention, and I'll go ahead and just keep it real with you, Kory. This is my top team in the SEC.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
And it isn't who many people may be thinking it is. It's not Georgia that I want to mention next. It's LSU.
Hey.
LSU. And that's they are looking great on paper, Kory.
That they are.
LSU is legit. Their over/under win total is at 8.5. They do have a difficult schedule. With the difficulties that they have, it sets up pretty well for them too in some ways. Of course, they start the season off at Clemson. That's going to be a great game. Great litmus test for both teams. And the time to catch Clemson is the first game of the season. So that's a huge one. You get Florida a couple weeks later at home. That's going to be a fun one too. It's Valley at night. Man, Florida. Y'all got a schedule on you guys, man. LSU, Texas. I mean, dude.
It's not easy. I'll tell you that much.
It's not easy at all. But before LSU travels to play at Ole Miss, play at Southeast Louisiana. So you get a game where you can kind of get right. Not necessarily a bye week, but a get right week, and everything before you play at Ole Miss. That'll be a fun one. South Carolina comes to you. You do play Vandy at Vandy, but you turn around and you have A&M come to you. So you at least get the A&M game at home.
Good advantage.
You get a bye week. You got the bye week before you go to Bama.
Mm-hmm.
And similar story to before you play at Oklahoma, you play Western Kentucky. So you got some tough games on there. They do have a tough schedule. But Kory, this team is filthy. They are all in on this year.
They are.
They are filthy. You bring back the nation's only 4,000-yard pass, Heisman hopeful, and possible number 1 overall pick of next year's NFL draft in Garrett Nussmeier.
It's pretty good.
You finally figured out your running back situation with Durham. He is the man, the guy, and I expect LSU to run the football so much better. Mm-hmm. Just way better this season than what they did last year. You upgrade the offensive line in the portal in the sense of, yes, you lose both of your tackles, but I think this team will be better in the trenches and will push defenses up front with the work that they've done in the portal and how they've recruited. They have the guys there for the offensive line to not fall off, despite losing a Will Campbell and a Jones. So I think they'll be fine there. The D-line will be crazy. And also the secondary will improve. Secondary was improved last year, but the secondary will be even better this year. In my eyes, Kory, it's going to be by subtraction. Major Burns is no longer in the secondary, and Major Burns was getting a whole lot last season. And everyone that's listening to this podcast will second that. Major Burns was burning them up. They couldn't stand Major Burns on the field when it was a third situation. That's who they were going after. Mm-hmm. He's no longer starting in the secondary. Mm-hmm. They have hit the portal. They continue to get better. And then don't get me started on the receivers. I think you make a case that LSU has the best wide receiving core and receiving weapons. Nathan.
Yeah. Hey.
You see what they did? Nick Anderson?
Yeah.
Nick Barryon Brown?
Mm-hmm.
And including Chris Hilton, you already had Eric Anderson.
Yeah.
And then Trudez as tight end.
Mm-hmm. Really good crop of receivers out here. Xavier Thomas, is back on this team. So, look, this is going to be a dangerous wide receiving court. Look, if your team and you got to play against LSU this season, you better be telling these DBs to tighten up this season, because by the time you play this game against these guys, they better be ready and prepared for what's coming to them, because it's going to be a lot of speed that they're going to be seeing out there.
Yeah, a whole lot of speed with Aaron Anderson and Bolton.
Yeah.
That whole game was just a teaser into what these guys are capable of. And they were already going to be nasty with Anderson and Hilton themselves. They had the nerve to go get Nick Anderson from Oklahoma, who, when healthy, is elite.
Yeah.
And Barryon Brown, when he has a quarterback that can get him the ball, is the fastest player on the field.
Mm-hmm. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. I think that 1-2 punch is just so scary, Chris. So dangerous.
It is. So this offense has the potential to do the same things that they did a couple years ago with Jaden Daniels. Even to do like what they did with Joe Burrow. That's the potential we're seeing. It's not hype to say the offense can be that elite.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you might mess around and have 3 players catching, with 1,000 receiving yards, 3 weapons. This is going to be a sight to see, man. Because I think they're going to run the ball this year. So yeah, I'm all in on LSU being one of the top teams in the conference. The schedule is difficult, but they have the pieces, Kory.
Mm-hmm.
They're all in. Brian Kelly needs to make the playoff this year. The man's deaf. There's no excuses this year.
Yeah, look, I've talked about all hands on deck for players, coaches so far in this episode, Chris. All hands on deck remains the key if you're Brian Kelly. What year would this be for Brian Kelly? Is 4th or 5th season?
I believe this is year 4.
Year 4, yeah. You gotta produce. You got like playoff or bust. If they can't make it to the playoffs with this receiving corps, with hopefully a better Garrett Nussmeier, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. So, yeah, they're gonna have to come with it because, hey, if they can't do it, then yeah, it's gonna be deemed as a failure to a lot of the LSU faithful out there.
Yep, it's year 4. And it's been solid, 10-4, 10-3, 9-4, but they need that playoff berth. It's year 4. This is. So I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Nah, I'm with you.
I mentioned them before going to LSU, but another team that we do have to mention as a contender for sure, Georgia.
Yeah. The Georgia Bulldogs, looking to become a better Georgia, better than they were last year. Gunnar Stockton's going to be back out there. One of the things, Chris, is how good is Gunnar Stockton going to be this year as compared to what we saw from him last season? Is he going to show up and show out? Because they're gonna need a better Gunnar Stockton this year if they want to make it deep in this playoffs and hopefully come out of this season having the national championship in hand.
Yeah, and Kory, I will tell you, we will find out very soon. Very into the season, is he ready? Because Georgia plays Marshall. And you have another game against Austin Peay at home, so a couple games to try to get the feel of the offense under Gunner. And September 13th at Tennessee, at Rocky Top, over 100,000 screaming fans in orange. Just going crazy. That place will be insane. We'll definitely be jumping. We're going to find out real soon, very quickly. Is this team ready? And is he ready? Then you get a bye week. You play Alabama at home, and then you get Kentucky at home. But then you turn around and play at Auburn. It gets crazy at Auburn. You welcome Ole Miss to your home field, but that won't be easy. And then you play Florida. There's some toughs in there. Granted, you do get Bama and Ole Miss at home, but at Tennessee, not easy. At Auburn isn't easy. And Florida on a neutral site is not easy.
Nope.
This is And that's not including Texas at home and Georgia Tech in neutral site game. This is
why isn't this schedule the hardest schedule?
It's quite the schedule, man. And if we're gonna keep it real,
yeah, it looks harder than what a Georgia Bulldog might think. Knowing what the season that they had, knowing what came out of it at the end against Notre Dame, and then looking at this schedule, I wouldn't be batting an eye or looking the other way off of any of these games.
No. Even if you are at home, no, and not at all. There's no guarantee in my eyes that Georgia makes a playoff. There's no guarantee. It might sound crazy, even with how things are currently constructed, but there is no guarantee that they make the playoff with how things are. Because we're not just going to act like Georgia Tech is just an automatic win. This ain't the Georgia Tech we've been used to the few seasons prior. This is just a whole new Tech.
Yeah, this new and improved Tech.
You got Texas, who won't be on the couch. Florida, people. If you are a Florida Gator fan, you feel like you probably have one of the 10 best teams in the nation. You just have an absolute murderer's row of a schedule. Mm-hmm. But the team is great.
Yeah,
the team is great.
Yeah, I think DJ Ladway is going to light it up this season.
And we know the recruiting that Auburn's been doing. We've highlighted it on the show, and they've been in the portal. They've been portaling. Mm-hmm. You brought in Jackson Arnold. Hugh Freeze, like he has his guy. It's time to produce at Auburn. The fans at Auburn are ready. So it's a tough schedule, Kory. A tough schedule.
Indeed, it is, man. I think Georgia's gonna have to come with it, man. We've seen this the last several years, Chris, where it just feels like Georgia can just walk out there week in, week out, and just name the score. That's what it felt like for the last several years. Not this season. I think they're going to have to get their hands dirty, like what you're saying, and they're going to have to really, produce at a high level and get players in positions where they need to be in order to be successful if they want to make it in the playoffs and get to a national championship again. I don't think this season is going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll see what happens.
Well, they have hit the portal to try to address some needs. We know wide receiver, the wide receiver room brought a lot of passes.
Yeah.
So you go out and then you bring in a branch. You brought in a couple really good guys. So that was very key. You also lost some playmakers on defense, and this is a team that year in and year out is a factory for the NFL. And I know Georgia recruits with the best of them. They develop talent with the best of them. But in today's college football, man, it's tough to replace and just expect guys to play at that level year in and year out. So we'll see what new guys make a name for themselves. But this will be another. Kirby Smart will have to put together another one of his great coaching jobs with this squad.
Yeah, literally. And they're going to have to be almost flawless this season. Because anything short of flawless, I think they're on the outside looking in. That's my only thing.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of work to do.
For sure. And got question marks at quarterback, and another team. It seems to kind of be the theme of a few squads in the SEC. You got some teams that know who their guy is, whether they are proven or not. But next team that's a contender, we'll see how their quarterback situation plays out.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama Crimson Tide, year 2 of the DeBoer era.
Yeah. Yeah. How is year 2, going to stack up with year 1? Because you ask, the average fan out there in Titletown, year 1 was like a splinter on the back heel of your foot.
Mm-hmm.
You just had to hobble it out, you know what I'm
saying? Yeah. No, it wasn't your average college football season that you've grown accustomed to.
Yeah.
With the GOAT, Nick Saban, as your head coach.
Right.
It was up and down, and we might see some more of that this upcoming season. It won't be easy, Kory.
No, it will not be easy. You start this season, Chris, a 2:30 kickoff game at Florida State. And we all know what we saw at Florida State last season. It was a mess. It was a catastrophe from beginning to the end. So this alone is going to be interesting. What's going to happen in this game? I can't wait.
Damn. I'm ready to see it too.
I can't wait. So that's the first game of the season, followed by Louisiana Monroe. They should win that game, and then at home against Wisconsin. Back-to-back games against UL Monroe and Wisconsin are going to be at Tuscaloosa. So, and I know Wisconsin isn't going to back down either. I know they won that game last year by a pretty big margin, but knowing what we saw from the Crimson Tide, hey, I'm not going to sit here and say that this is the same Alabama Crimson Tide from the same era, because let's be honest, it's not. We are in the second year of the DeBoer era, and anybody can be beating the SEC, that including Alabama. So they're gonna have to be really feisty and really scratch and claw through this schedule to showcase that, hey, they can still hang in this league. So I'm very much interested to see how this schedule goes, and you can continue along with the schedule, Chris, because they got a couple like the next game is Georgia. So
yeah, you can play at Georgia. Vandy at home. You already, Alabama fans are familiar with what Vandy can do after this past season. At Missouri, we'll see how that game goes. Tennessee at home. At South Carolina. Williams-Brice. That place gets crazy.
Yeah.
That is not an easy place to play football at.
It's not. And they remember exactly how last year ended.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You bring, LSU has to come play you at home, but that won't be easy at all. Not this LSU team.
Right.
Oklahoma, lost to them last year. You play them again at home. At Auburn, another team, man, that has a lot riding on this season. You got your hiccups there, possible hiccups with the schedule. It won't be easy, and you got question marks yourself. Is Ty Simpson that guy? Who will settle in as QB1? Can you get the weapons to ball? Can you get the ball to Ryan Williams like you need to? You also bring in a transfer receiver from Miami with Horton, who's a very talented wide receiver in his own right.
Right.
Another Sunday guy, somebody that I expect to be playing on Sundays. And you get him well acclimated and into the offense. Will Alabama's defense continue to make a step up? They're a very young team last year defensively. I'm curious to see what will be the identity of this team, because you don't normally associate Kalen DeBoer teams with defense as being the soul of the team, the heart and soul. Where you associate his teams with high powered offenses, but I kind of think this defense might be the thing that's carrying this team, or at least early in the season, until we really get things figured out with just how well this offense can be with who's at QB. So I'm very curious to see how this Alabama team, like, what will be the calling card for them this year, because they couldn't run the football either last year, Kory.
No, they were abysmal at running the football. Probably some of the worst I've seen from Alabama in terms of running the football.
Ever.
Yeah, ever. Ever. So yeah, I think you're coming on to something, Chris. I think the first half of this season, of this schedule, we're going to see the defense actually taking steps forward to help this team become better, potentially with their offense as time goes on. I don't think they're going to be as sharp right out the gate. When will they get that? We don't know. They might not ever get it. It might just be one of those things where, hey, we had an off season and it's still this is just still too complex for us. That would be a shame. Don't let that be the case, because if that is the case, oh my God, you are going in, the whole state of Alabama is just going to rumble. If you can look at the United States of America from afar, Chris, you would just see the state of Alabama just shaking like an earthquake. These people will be livid. They will have questions, and Kalen DeBoer will need the answers.
For his sake, I hope he has them. Oh boy,
that's all I can say.
Yeah. Oh man, you're right. Even at the top of the SEC, there's so many question marks. We know these teams will be good, but just how good?
Yeah.
Will they be playoff good?
Mm-hmm.
How many of these teams will make the playoff? And then there's the next tier of teams in question, like in Ole Miss.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though they have a new quarterback, Jackson Dart off to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
In comes Austin Simmons.
Yep.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, Kory. Even as a Mississippi State alum, that's a bad boy. I know you don't want to hear it. The bulldog in you does not want to hear it. That boy Austin Simmons. I am sold. When they had those car salesmen, going once, going twice, sold.
Sold
Austin Simmons. I am a believer.
Hey, I will give you this. From what I saw from him, the little bit that I saw from him this past season, I'm a little bit of a believer as well. I think the guy has that it factor that Lane Kiffin wants in his QB, and hey, if he can showcase that with the schedule that they have week in and week out, I think they'll be all right. I am interested in October 11th, Ole Miss taking on Washington State. Mateer won't be there anymore. He's now at Oklahoma now.
Oklahoma. Him and the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. So we'll definitely miss that. But I won't count out Washington State. They may very well put on a shellacking on the Cougs, but I think it's an interesting matchup between Wazoo and Ole Miss.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. And, of all the schedules that we've discussed, I think Texas has had a very favorable one. I also think Ole Miss doesn't have the worst schedule. It will be difficult. There are some tough matchups here, but I think the schedule shapes up pretty well for Ole Miss. I would not be shocked if we see them in the playoff. And I know that it sounds crazy after how invested they were last season. They went all in last season in the portal, and they continue to recruit very well in the portal. They another top 5 portal class this offseason. But you get your LSUs of the world at home. You have a Georgia team that we have question marks about, Kory. Yes, it's at Georgia, but at least it's a team and we do have question marks about. And you have already proven to yourself that you can beat Georgia like you did last year. Oklahoma, that will be an interesting game. Oklahoma's a very talented team. South Carolina at home. Florida at home. You get the Egg Bowl.
Yeah.
Not the worst schedule you have in the SEC. Just keep it real with you.
It's not. Look, I see the vision. I see the vision. I think Lane Kiffin sees the vision as well. They stack pretty nicely, barring if they can handle a schedule like this. We don't know how some of these teams are going to perform as the season progresses. We don't even know how Ole Miss will, but let's just say if they hold their own weight and they can come out of the second half unscathed. I think they got an opportunity to try to get in on one of those 12 spots. So hey,
and this is my opinion. I think Austin Simmons is the most talented quarterback Lane Kiffin will have coached at Ole Miss. I think he's going to end up being the best one of the crop. Of the Matt Corrals, who was also a highly touted recruit, a 4-star guy. Jackson Dart, he was another Elite 11 guy, a highly recruited, highly touted player in his class. But I think Austin Simmons is going to be the one. I think he is the one. Unfortunately, Kory. I'm just sorry. Unfortunately, I think he is the one. And how the schedule shapes out, we might be talking about this team a little further into the season than we usually do. And I trust Kiffin too. His offenses have consistently been good, no matter who's at QB.
Yeah. I gotta give it to him. He has found a way, and yes, he has miraculously, went in under the knife when it comes to the transfer portal, Chris. I'm talking about, people call him the transfer portal king.
Yes, he's the portal whisperer.
Yeah, I gotta give him that. I have to give him that name, just because he did it. It's worked for him. He doesn't seem to be stopping on that anytime soon. So, I think from what we saw from him last year and what we've seen from him this year, that he went into the portal again, and on top of getting some really good heralded high school recruits. We know all about Cunningham from Ackerman. He's going to be a stud out there. So, Lane knows what he's doing. Yeah.
Caleb Bolton from Alabama was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. Mm-hmm. So you're essentially adding 2 5-stars to that wide receiving core.
Yeah.
And Odom has some size on him. 6'5" kid, tall, very, very big wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Shoot. Yeah, we will see. We will see. And then, it looks like the defense should continue to play very well as well. Ole Miss, man, right there in the mix. Right there in the mix. Another team right there in the mix too. I mean, there's a bunch in this SEC conference. But just to keep things rolling,
Yeah.
I think we have to mention South Carolina.
We gotta mention them. Beamer Ball is going to strike again. You don't know when he's going to strike, but well, maybe this time he's just going to strike outright. I think he's done like guessing with people.
Yeah,
this is a good team.
South Carolina. It's a good team. You bring back Lenore Sellers, Heisman hopeful. Somebody that looks to be a Sunday guy. It looks, I can just see him right now in one of these NFL offenses, just ripping defenses to shreds with his arms and his arm and legs. The defense will still be very good. With the pass rushers that this team has, it's very, very young defensive line. They bring back some studs too on that D line, so it's a really a team that you gotta look out for. Because of Dylan Stewart, he's a sophomore. Last year was his freshman year. Like,
that's crazy.
he's a sophomore this year. And he's an absolute beast.
That's insane.
I have a question mark with the team. I'm curious to see. I think this will determine their success story in my eyes.
I think your audio.
I have.
Oh, there it is.
Who's going to be that guy at wide receiver? I have questions about the wide receiving room.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a question mark right now for South Carolina. Also, Rashul Faison that played running back for Utah State right now. They're also kind of waiting on the NCAA to kind of clear up some of those whatever is going on with his transfer to South Carolina. So we got running back issues or running back question marks, and we have wide receiver question marks. So I don't know. That's probably that is the one or two main things that Shane Beamer is going to have to get cleared up before the season starts, because you're going to need your offense. You're gonna need weapons out there for Lenore Sellers to be competitive and be successful out there. So, that's the only thing I can tell you right now that is concerning if you're a South Carolina fan.
Yeah. I mean, the schedule. You have a favorable schedule. It's not too bad. I'm sure there's a few games you wish you could swap out with a home game that you have. You do have to play at LSU, at Ole Miss, and at Texas A&M. Those are tough. And then, of course, you play your arch rival, Clemson. You do get them at home, though. Oklahoma at home, Alabama at home, Kentucky at home, and Virginia Tech to start the season at home. So this isn't just a schedule you just kind of gloss over. There's some matchups here at Missouri. Hey man, if everything clicks, South Carolina can be right there in the mix.
Oh yeah.
But there's also a world where if it doesn't click, the boys might be It might be scrapping to get 7 wins, Kory. This ain't easy now.
It's not easy. It is not easy at all. So yeah, man, they're gonna have to produce. They're gonna have to get some wins, some kind of way. And I don't think that this team is the South Carolina teams from before. I do think that they brought in a lot of great talent, but there are some question marks, like we said, in terms of the offense. Needs to be answered, and once we get those, we can really see. We'll begin to see, how good is this South Carolina team is. So, I'm
Mm-hmm.
interested. I'm intrigued.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Likewise, likewise. So, there's a lot going on with SC, but they definitely have the potential to make some noise this year, and keeping things rolling. Tennessee, they got the potential to make some noise too.
Hey, they took care of the Nico situation. I was listening to Paul Feinbaum the other night. He doesn't seem bullish on his alma mater about how that situation went down. Look, I'm not the person here to make the man feel a different kind of way, Chris. But if Josh Heupel made the decision to go ahead and tell Nico that we're no longer in need of your services, then I'm of the opinion that with his great expertise as a great offensive coach and a great quarterback whisperer, that he has the answer to make this right at a good old Rocky Top. So, you kick off the season with Syracuse, followed by East Tennessee State, and you got a home game with Georgia. Hey, let's see what we got. Let's see if we cooking with grease.
Josh Heupel's so cold. He said, matter of fact, I'll get the QB that's at the school that Nico's going to. He can come play for me. That's how cold Josh Heupel is.
Hey, he just did it just like that with a snap of a finger. He just Thanos snap. The whole
Swap
scenario.
him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ain't no problem. Hey, come on here. I actually had a really quarterback. So yeah, that's what's going on, man. Joey has, I think, from what I've seen with him on film, Joey has an arm. He's got a live arm. Like, he can spin it down the field. And if he is connecting on the passes that were there, they were there last year for Nico to complete the deep bombs. If the deep bombs are getting connected in a way that Hendon Hooker, how he was connecting on those big plays, those explosives, if those balls are caught this season, hey man, we might not be talking about Tennessee enough.
Maybe I would, at that point, I would start saying we're ruling them out. We're not giving them enough credit. We're not giving Josh Heupel enough credit for figuring this out, because I think everyone right now just feels like, hey, let's push Tennessee to the side, because I think that this might come back to bite them, in the behind. I won't sit there and say that yet. I need to see what happens on the field. Give me 3 or 4 games, then I'll come back.
And the schedule is going to be a theme, but it could be worse. There's some teams in the SEC with worse schedules. You get Georgia at home. Granted, you go to Mississippi State, but the way the conference is shaping up, you will take that. You don't mind going to Mississippi State.
Right.
Arkansas at home. You go to Alabama. Not easy. Rivalry game. But hey, they got their own question marks too.
Yeah.
At Kentucky. You aren't expecting a lot from Kentucky this year. It is a rivalry game, but you don't mind going to Kentucky. Oklahoma. Talented team. You play them at home. At Florida. Not easy. Talented team. How much will Florida have left at the end of the season? We will see. But Is that a bad time to catch Florida with it being at the end of the season, right before the Vanderbilt game?
No, because
Not the worst schedule in the world, Kory.
by that time you should be just as talented as Florida is, and your back should be just as much against the wall as Florida is. Trying to jockey for a good position in terms of possibly trying to make it to a conference championship in the playoff spot. So, hey, yeah, like you said, I would take that too if I was Josh Heupel. Schedule's favorable.
It's favorable. I know Josh Heupel sees that and he knows that, and I am so curious to see this Tennessee team, because if I had not met Josh Heupel, but just based off the actions that we have seen, Kory, if I know him like I think I do, that man he might possibly be the most competitive coach in the conference. Like you just know he wants to show everybody so badly that Tennessee is just fine. It ain't even a him thing; it's a Tennessee thing that we are just fine. He wants to flex so bad on the conference, because this is unprecedented. What happened this offseason?
Yeah,
we haven't seen this in the transfer portal era yet. So if they can go out here and mess around and make the playoff again, and not even just make the playoff again, but be a better team, objectively look better, the offense perform better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, hey, mostly them folks. You thought Tennessee fans were annoying last year. Y'all ain't heard nothing.
Hey man, they're gonna be coming out full force, doing their dance, singing their song, climbing the highest mountains in Tennessee, in Knoxville.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So yeah, man.
Man, they right there in the mix. They right there in the mix. And you know what's crazy, Kory? There's still a few more teams
it's still
we can mention right here.
Yeah, A&M.
Yeah, I would say we can group 4 of them together.
Okay.
And so, A&M, Auburn, Florida, Oklahoma.
Yep, I am in agreement with you on that end. I think all 4 of these teams definitely have an opportunity to be very competitive.
All dark horses. You mentioned A&M. Let's go. We can dive into A&M. It's a team, man. Very talented roster. And you know who your guy is at quarterback this year? Yeah. There are no questions.
The return of the Mac, the return of the Reed,
So you have no questions at QB. You hit the portal pretty well.
You did.
Concepcion, our boy from NC State.
Yeah, look, probably the shocker of the transfer portal process was getting Casey Concepcion at A&M. I think that's a really, really good get. And hey, let's hope that Marcel Reed has strengthened that arm, has went in the lab during the off season, and has worked diligently with this guy, because hey, if I was Marcel Reed, me and you, we making it a appointment, practice just about every day of the week. We practicing like 3, probably 4 days a week, just pitch and catch.
You can get real ugly with that duo, man. That's Casey Concepcion. Concepcion was a guy we saw it a couple seasons ago. We was like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he's a real deal. Yeah, I think he's a Sunday guy. He just needs the right QB. But he's an impact player. And then you bring back Reuben Owens.
Yeah.
And maybe at running back.
Not bad.
That might be the best running back duo in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Marcel running it too. A&M has a chance to be the best running team in the league. Possibly a top 5 rushing offense in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you mess around and Concepcion is out here going crazy, A&M's a team that, hey, are we talking enough about them? Because you know the defense is going to be stout.
Mm-hmm.
So A&M is right there in the mix. Just looking at, let's pull up their schedule real quick.
Let's see.
So looking at what they got going on for the upcoming season. You play at Notre Dame. Won't be easy.
Hey, it will not be easy. You kicked off the season last year with Notre Dame coming to Kyle Field. Game 3, you got to take that trip.
So, it's real. It gets real. Yep.
Yeah, and Notre Dame is not an easy place to play when it's loud and when they have something to fight for. It's pretty tough to compete there.
It is. But like we mentioned, there are some tough schedules out here, and A&M, I think, like the schedule a lot. If it clicks, hold on now. I know you do have to play at LSU and at Texas. Mm-hmm. It's tough. That's real tough. But at least you get Missouri. You play at Missouri, you play at Arkansas. Mm-hmm. It could be worse. You play South Carolina at home. You play Florida at home. You play Auburn at home. Hey, those are toss-up games, but they're home games.
Right. Yeah.
And you feel like maybe you can sneak a win at LSU or at Texas. You at least want to maybe split one of those. But if you take care of business at home and you beat Missouri and Arkansas on the road, hey,
you cooking with grease.
Who knows? Exactly.
Yeah.
So the highs are high when it comes to the tough play. Mm-hmm. Playing the national runner-up and a couple teams projected to win, be right there in the playoff, but who knows what can happen this year? It's not the worst schedule.
No, it's certainly not the worst schedule. So we've seen worse schedules out there. So I think that this is it's not bad, not bad.
How you feeling about them Auburn Tigers, Kory?
Auburn, look, you start the season off at Baylor. Interesting game. I know you've talked about it, my friend, about those Baylor Bears potentially being very dangerous in the Big 12.
That's a game right there.
Yeah, look, that's a toss-up. That's definitely a toss-up. But you start off the season with Baylor, at home against Ball State, South Alabama back-to-back, before you have a 2-game away stretch against Oklahoma and Texas A&M. So, can they become 3-0 before those games? And if so, can they find a way to beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma? We'll see what Oklahoma does. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I like the team that Hugh Freeze has assembled. It's just time will tell, Chris. How will this team produce? What will they look like? That's
yeah. How will they look? Because you could easily mess around and be a sleeper playoff team.
Yeah.
This is Auburn's got a really interesting team because they have recruited so well in the high school ranks over the last few seasons. They have consistently been top 15. And then you hit the portal as hard as they did this off season.
Mm-hmm.
You bring back just you have a group of wide receivers that's very underrated. It's a very, very good team, very good wide receiving group. Mm-hmm. If Jackson Arnold can be that guy, if he can just get the ball out to your weapons. You know, when you got Cam Coleman back. We know how highly talented he was coming out of high school, and maybe Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams took all the shine last year. Mm-hmm. We saw Cam Coleman get right as the season continued. Mm-hmm. If Jackson Arnold can get him the ball, and those two live up to their blue chip ratings coming out of high school. And then, Hugh Freeze calling the offense. Hey, there's a world where this is Auburn high-powered. Auburn might be a legit problem this season, Kory. It is not outside the realm of possibility that Auburn has a better year than Alabama. I'm just going to put it out there. Auburn might be the best team in the state of Alabama.
Hey, if that's the case, man, that is saying something. That would be huge, and no one would have saw that coming. no one. But hey, knowing what we've seen from Alabama, especially last season, it's definitely there for the taking. It's definitely there for the taking.
The league is so balanced when it comes to talent. And everybody just with the possibility of beating up on each other that you never know what will happen week to week.
No.
So we're not going to see the dominance, I feel like, from one team that we saw during the 2010s, at least from Alabama. I just don't think that's SEC football anymore. Mm-hmm. With how the portal works and just the recruiting, how recruiting has been working. And
right.
So, yeah, I mean, Auburn, they are due. They are desperate, and that's why they have gone all in the transfer portal like they did this past this off season. So we'll see. We will see. And then we mentioned got to talk about Florida.
So look,
we got to talk about Florida.
I think this is a really good dark horse team that could shock some people.
I think they're one of the 15 best teams in the nation. Mm-hmm. I think they're a top 15 team.
I can see
but
it.
Will their record show that? Ooh, if so, boy, them boys, they better than top 15, boy. If they record reflects how good they are, they show their ass this year because they got a schedule on them.
I know. And look, at LSU, at Miami, back to back.
That's rough.
That is rough. Before having a home game against Texas.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any rougher than that, Chris.
No, this is the roughest schedule in the nation. This is the toughest schedule. It does not get any tougher than this.
I
will go ahead and say
difficult. That's difficult, and it doesn't stop there. You have at Texas A&M, followed by Mississippi State at home, and Georgia at home. So the Mississippi State game, depending on how they improve in year 2 of the Levy era, that could be one of those trap games before Georgia.
Yeah.
So you don't want to overlook that. Just saying. And then you cap it off the 4-game stretch being at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, at home versus Tennessee, and then you end the season against in-state rival Florida State. Hey, good luck. Good luck.
Get him, Billy.
Go get him, Billy. You can do this, Billy. We believe in you.
Yeah.
So hey,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens, but that's not going to be difficult. I mean, that's not going to be easy.
Yeah, no, this is tough, man. This is tough. But Florida has a squad. DJ Lagway, will he make the leap? He looked to be that guy before the injury. It was looking like Florida had a chance to beat Georgia before he exited the game. And if Florida hit the portal, brought in a really good running back with Ball. This O-line will be very good. They bring back most of the starters on the offensive line. They bring back most of the talent in general. And Florida has recruited well. Florida's a good team, man. They are bought in. We saw it last season with all the noise around Coach Napier getting fired, possibly. That team lifted them up. They beat LSU last year. They beat Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kept them out of the playoff.
Yeah. I mean, was a shocker to a lot of people. Me, by chance. I kind of, figured that Florida had an opportunity if they played well to beat Ole Miss. They did. A little petty moment out of me, but
LSU beat Ole Miss. I know you want your lick back against Miami, so we'll see how that game goes. But and Texas has to come to your crib. They got to play at Florida. That won't be an easy one. Yeah, it's going to be tough. But if everything comes together, Florida really is a team that can contend to make the playoff.
Yeah.
Same thing with Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oklahoma, it's so funny. The second game of the season for OU at home against Michigan. Gotta watch that.
Must see TV.
That must see TV. Literally. Like, come on now. Mateer versus Bryce Underwood. Take my money.
Oh yeah, have all of it. So
let me get the breaststroke. That game might be 60-something to 70-something by the end of it, Chris.
Hey, you never know. You never know, man. Bryce might come in and be that guy. And we saw what Mateer did last year at Washington State.
On fire.
And Oklahoma defense nasty, filthy, single-handedly winning them games last year.
Yeah. Hey, look, it might get interesting over there in Norman. So hey, I'm not gonna count out. I'm not gonna count out Brent Venables yet. Look, I know a lot of people were ready to boot him out last season, and look, I can understand it. You definitely saw a decrease in production on the offensive side of the football. But hey, if he can figure this thing out this season and get guys in place to be successful, I can say that this OU team can be a pretty good one.
They have the potential. They definitely have the potential. It's there. It's for sure there. So we'll see how everything plays out. And I think there's one more team, Kory. I really don't want to mention them, but because I'm not a believer myself, but I think people will have questions. And it's Missouri.
Yeah. Is Eli Drinkwitz going to recapture that magic, or the magic that we thought that they had last season, into this season coming up? Are they going to look potentially dominant? And do they have the opportunity to be that dark horse? I don't know. Second game is against Kansas. Hey, we'll see what happens with that game. Of course, sometimes Kansas just pops out of nowhere, Chris, and they become thorns on the side. Hey,
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting.
No, you're 100% right, Kory. Kansas is good for a sneaky win.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that game goes. You Bama at home. You got to go to Auburn the very next week.
Yeah.
Woo. You got to go to Oklahoma later in the season. You do get A&M at home, South Carolina at home. It's not the worst schedule, but just how good is Missouri? That's just my question.
I don't know. Look, it's gonna be a lot of opportunities to prove themselves, Chris, this season. They're gonna have week in and week out. It's gonna be a chance to prove themselves. As for the other four squads that we didn't mention in the league, that being Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Arkansas, it's gonna be a lot of moments where they're gonna have to prove to a lot of people, can they hang. But Missouri being probably the better out of those five. I think they're gonna have that opportunity where they're gonna have to prove themselves. So can they do it? We'll see.
We will. That we will.
Yes, sir.
So it's shaping up to be another crazy year in the SEC, man. We mentioned 2/3 of the conference essentially, as if everything cracks right and make the playoff. Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, think that is some crazy depth in the league, and it just shows you, man. Every week is going to be a battle when you have that many teams that are in the locker rooms today, hitting the practice field every day, thinking we can be a team in playoff. Mm-hmm. It makes for a great season.
Yeah, it does. It does, and yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to see, man. Like, look, we got a lot of great teams in this league. A lot of dark horse teams, and a lot of teams that, like I just mentioned, they have an opportunity to improve themselves, and that's what we want with all of these teams in all of the leagues that we discuss in our preview predictions, Chris. But in terms of the SEC, the biggest conference, of course, the conference that everyone always looks to and praises and criticizes. We're seeing that in terms of what's coming in this season. So, man, I can't wait. It's gonna be a fun one, and we just can't wait to delve into some of these games when kickoff starts, and we can actually see who's the contenders and who are the pretenders in the league.
Oh yeah, we will get our answers very early on into the season. We'll already get some questions answered.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be fun, and to segue, it's going to be fun to get a preview of these teams ourselves.
Yeah.
With the release of the college football game, it's like we kids all over again, Kory.
Exactly. So yeah, folks. Before we end today's show, we got some news this week with the reveal of College Football 26, the second installment since the return from College Football 2014. We're now at 26 now. And yeah, some big additions, more mascots we've seen, better lighting. If you're a video game fan out there, you get to play with your friends, cross play, all of that great stuff, and oh yeah, coaches, real life coaches are gonna be in the game, Chris. Then they said like over 300 coaches, so that means we're gonna get assistant coaches. They're gonna be in the game.
I know.
This is crazy. I love it.
It is crazy, man. So, yeah, we got the coaches. We got the dynamic lighting. There's plenty of more features that will be revealed as time continues. Yeah. But, man, it's it looks like we're going to play a college football game like none other. Like, it sounds like they heard us.
Yeah.
They laid a good foundation with 25, but it sounds like 26 is taking it to the next level.
I know. So yeah, man, I'm excited, man. I'm definitely excited. Happy that we're getting another installment of this game, and not just any other installment. We're getting refined tooling of what we got last year. Refined modes and just great additions to what we got last year with college football 2025. I think 26 is just going to be an excellent video game out there for college football fans like us. And yeah, man, I really can't wait. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it is. Man, it's crazy. The details that they. Did you peep that Clemson was running off the bus?
Yeah,
that's what they do.
I know.
In their real game.
Yeah, they just threw that in there, like, and they did it quick too. They're like, look, I know you're not gonna find this, right? Like, look, I saw it. I thank you for doing it. I thank you for taking the time.
They got Clemson running off the bus. This is crazy. They got into the Sandman for Virginia Tech. This is. You could tell that they love college football just like we do, as we are here potting, in May, late May, because we love this sport, we love the game.
Exactly.
They love it too. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be great for everybody who loves college football, and then we get to get our little preview on. I'm curious to hit the field with a few of these teams, and see what the ratings are looking like, how they expect them to be this season, and just how everything plays out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, man. Yeah, I can't wait. We get our hands, early on looking at these rosters and filling out some of these players and stuff. That's something that the kid in us back in the day, Chris, that's what we did. And the fact that we get to do that even today as old men is amazing. but yeah,
yes,
man.
sir. Yes,
I'm loving it. Can't wait to play the game. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Yep. Indeed it is. Well, Chris, I think we had a great talk. We delved a lot into the SEC. It's always great that, we can finally make this into a yearly tradition where we're, talking about these conferences. And, I know we didn't talk about necessarily the group of 5 teams, but we got all off season to kind of delve into some of the outside Power 4 teams as well. So we'll definitely make our times of kind of discussing some teams that could potentially try to squeeze into the 12-team playoff as well, because we just can't really forget about those teams. and knowing that they do have a spot in there for a Group of 5 team is important. So we'll definitely talk about a lot of stuff going on in terms of the Power 4 teams, but also the Group of 5 teams as well. Teams we're interested in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, yeah, we got plenty of time to hit on them, and we definitely will. So, I'll be on the lookout for that for future episodes.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, another successful episode, sir. Always glad to chop it up with you here on the Breakdown Sportscast. You know how we do it here on this show, and it's always great that we can talk about college football year in and year out, in season, off season, and man, we're definitely going to be talking some more about any other developments or any news surrounding the world of college football as we get closer and closer to the season. I think we're a little bit under 100 days before kickoff, so we're
almost there.
We're almost there. We are almost there, folks. So yeah, definitely keep it locked in here on the Breakdown Sportscast, everyone, for those updates. But Chris, before we get out of here, got some outros, sir. Let the good people know where they can find you on social media.
Yes, sir. So you can find me on X at Chris_Bolton_12. Holler at your boy. He's talking about everything, football, basketball, baseball, boxing, wrestling, video games. Hey, it's the wonderful time of the year. So tap in with your boy on X.
Absolutely. Yeah, folks, and you can also find me as well on X at Listen to KSW, all one handle. I'm on there as well, talking professional wrestling, college football news, chopping it up probably with Chris about NBA developments, of course. As we're recording this, we got the Knicks taking on the Pacers, and the Knicks aren't looking so hot right now. They're looking like they need to be packing up, getting ready to go back to New York. But who knows? We'll see what happens. So and I'm saying that in terms of the series right now. We're recording this 86-68. The Knicks look like they're up. So who knows? Maybe there's still time. But
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, definitely catch me on X. Definitely willing to chat with you guys. But yeah, folks, glad to record again another great show with my good friend Chris. We'll be back in the future. We'll see how time kind of shapes up for the both of us, but we'll definitely be looking into different news that's going on surrounding college football, and you know where to find us as well. Just keep it locked here on the Breakdown Sportscast. But until next time, I'm Kory Willis. He's Chris Bolton. You are listening to the Breakdown Sportscast. We will chat with y'all later. Peace.
Peace.